After my funeral, 4 men went mad over me. I had been sent into this world with a mission from the system. I had to make at least one of the 4 men it assigned to me fall in love with me. If I succeeded, I would be allowed to return to life, the life I had lost in a car accident. It sounded simple. But I failed. Every one of them fell in love with the same woman. They turned against me, cursed me, and wished for my disappearance. In the end, I truly did disappear. Mission failed. Only when they saw what was left of me did they finally break down. How ironic. Mission failure confirmed. The 25-year time limit has expired. You are no longer qualified to continue the mission. The system's cold voice pulled me back to reality. I was standing outside a church, listening to the mechanical announcement echo in my mind. Inside, beneath warm lights and soft music, Parker Sheffield and Jessica Landry were standing at the altar, sharing a kiss. Parker was the wealthiest man in City A, and the last man I had been assigned to win over. My final failure? When I was first brought into this world, the system had made me an offer: win over at least one of the 4 men within 25 years, and I would be allowed to live again. But the years passed, and I gained nothing. Not love. Not trust. Not a second chance. Perhaps I was never meant to live at all. I turned away from the church and walked without direction until I reached the busiest overpass in the city. The mission period has ended, the system reminded me. You must conclude it yourself. As I stood there, staring at the endless stream of cars, my memories flooded back, the cold looks, the harsh words, the contempt. All of it traced back to the same person. Jessica Landry. It is not your fault, the system said flatly. She is the chosen. They are instinctively drawn to her. I looked up at the blue sky and wondered if that was truly all there was to my existence, destined to fail simply because I was never the main character. I closed my eyes. Then, suddenly, the screech of brakes tore through the air. Haley, are you out of your mind? If you want to vanish, don't do it here. I was dragged backward by a powerful force. When I opened my eyes, I saw Caleb Wright, my brother. One of the 4. The system had once told me that if I could raise his brotherly affection to 100%, it would also count as a success. I had almost reached it. Until Jessica appeared. She told Caleb that I had tried to ruin her life. He believed her without hesitation. From that moment on, he despised me. He forced me into the car, drove in silence, then exploded in anger when we stopped. If you really want to disappear, he said coldly, do it where no one else will be dragged into your mess. The words hit harder than any blow could have. I had pretended to be desperate before, just to make him listen, just to make him doubt. But this time was different. He only saw another performance. Caleb. Why are you here? I asked bitterly. Aren't you supposed to be at Jessica's wedding? He sneered. Don't flatter yourself. I ran into you while picking up something for her. And don't think I'll fall for your tricks again. So that was it. Even today, he chose her over me. I took a step away, my legs shaking. Hurry up, he mocked. I don't have all day. The cold seeped into my skin, numb and heavy. This should have been the end. But once again, I was pulled back. His voice followed me, sharp and unforgiving. Mom gave you that life. My mother. She was the only person who still cared. So I retreated. Later that night, I went home in silence. Caleb's words echoed in my mind. He had once told me that letting go was true love. I didn't love anyone anymore. I only wanted peace. That night, alone in the dark, I finally collapsed. 25 years in this world felt longer than a lifetime. I had once believed love would save me. I starved myself to save money for Caleb's gifts. I took the blame for his mistakes. I ran through storms just to help him. And slowly, his affection had grown. Until Jessica took everything. I stood beneath the empty sky, feeling smaller than I had ever felt. I've become a star, I had once written. Then everything faded. And suddenly, I was pulled back into the world. Air flooded my lungs again as someone caught me. Haley, what are you doing? It was Dr. Samuel Bradford, my former psychologist. Another one of my assigned targets. He had once been gentle? He had once believed in me. Until Jessica cried in his arms and accused me of ruining her life. That was the day he turned against me. Now he stood there again. "Why aren't you at the wedding?" I asked flatly. He stared at me in silence. "You're trying to get attention again," he said bitterly. I didn't answer. My eyes were already empty. Something in my expression must have finally frightened him. He took me away from there and called Caleb. Caleb arrived, with Jessica and Parker. Jessica hid behind Parker like a frightened child. Parker glared at me with disgust. "Haley, do you really have to cause trouble like this on our wedding day?" he said coldly. I looked at all of them and asked softly, "What if I told you Jessica was the one who hurt me?" Jessica cried immediately. Caleb roared at me to apologize. Samuel turned cold. Parker didn't even look at me. They chose her. As they always did. So they kept me under watch. I refused to eat. I stared at the window. Finally, Samuel realized something was wrong. "She's shutting down," he whispered. "This time. She's really sick." The hospital confirmed it. Severe depression. I had always been sick. They just never wanted to see it. They wrote the words down on a clipboard, but I didn't need a piece of paper to tell me what I'd already known for years. Severe major depressive disorder. Like a label on a broken product. I stared up at the white hospital ceiling while Samuel and Caleb argued in the corner. "We can't just keep her at my place," Samuel said. "I'm not equipped for 24-hour supervision. She needs structured care." "You mean locked up?" I thought dully. Caleb ran a hand through his hair. "Is that really necessary? She's just trying to scare us. She's always been dramatic." The words stung, but the pain felt far away. "Look at her," Samuel insisted. "She hasn't eaten, hasn't slept, barely responds. This isn't just acting out. This is dangerous. If she walks out of here, she might not come back." "I'm right here," I wanted to say. But my mouth wouldn't move. After a while, Caleb sighed. "Fine," he muttered. "Do whatever you think is best." Those were the words that decided everything. By afternoon, the papers were signed. I was transferred to a separate facility on the outskirts of the city. A place with a nice, soothing name and locked doors. The room they put me in was small and blindingly clean. Bed bolted to the floor. Plastic chair. Nothing sharp. Cameras in the corners. They took the drawstrings from my clothes. They checked my sleeves. They catalogued my shoes. If I so much as sat up too quickly, a nurse's voice came through the intercom. "Haley, are you all right?" It should have made me feel safe. Instead, I felt like an insect pinned under glass. "System," I whispered in my head, staring at the ceiling. "You said the mission is over. Why am I still here?" "The mission period has ended," it replied calmly. "I cannot interfere with this world's processes. All remaining decisions belong to you." "I don't have any decisions," I murmured. "They've taken them all." No response. Time blurred. I slept in fragments. Woke up disoriented. Ate a few bites when someone insisted. Stared at the wall when no one did. On the third night, the door opened. Not with the usual soft beep of a nurse badge, but with a click that sounded almost deliberate. High heels tapped over the floor. I didn't move. "Wow," a familiar voice said lightly. "Look at you. They really did tuck you away in here." My fingers tightened in the blanket. Jessica Landry. She was dressed in a pale designer dress, her hair perfect, makeup flawless. She looked like she'd stepped off a bridal magazine cover instead of walking out of her own wedding reception. The nurses outside barely glanced in. One of them even smiled at her. "Family?" I heard someone ask. "She's my sister," Jessica answered sweetly. "I just want to see how she's doing." Sister. Without the cameras and the medication, I might have laughed. Jessica approached the bed and sat on the edge, looking down at me with bright, interested eyes. Up close, her perfume was suffocating. "How does it feel?" She asked softly. Wanting to disappear, but not being allowed to? Knowing everyone thinks you're unstable, so even if you scream the truth, no one will listen? I kept my gaze on the ceiling. If I looked at her, I knew I'd break. Her smile sharpened. Don't pretend you can't hear me, she murmured. She reached out and pinched my chin, forcing my head toward her. You used to love putting on a show. Where's all that energy now? Go away, I rasped. It was the first word I'd said all day. Her eyes glittered. Oh? You still have a voice. Good. She leaned closer. Tell me something, Haley. Do you remember the first world? My blood went cold. What? My voice cracked. She smiled widely now, like a child unwrapping a present. The day of the car accident, she said. Me, the crosswalk in front of campus. You thought you were saving me. You always did. But someone had to die that day. The system said so. My throat closed. You. Remember, I whispered. The original world. Of course I do. Her expression went flat for a heartbeat, something cold sliding through her gaze. I'm a player too, Haley. Same mission. Same system. Same 4 targets. But there was only room for one of us to go back. My mind flashed to white. That car, I said slowly. The one that came out of nowhere. Was me, she finished lightly. Well, technically the driver was a poor kid I paid to borrow his brakes. But details, she sighed dramatically. I meant to take you out in one go. Imagine my surprise when the system dropped you into this world as well. You tried to kill me, I choked. Her fingers dug harder into my jaw. Don't act so innocent, she snapped. You had everything in that world. Parents who loved you, friends, good grades, a future. I had nothing. The system told me whoever completed the mission would get that life. So I went for it. Simple. She let go, letting my head fall back onto the pillow. When you showed up here too, I'll admit, I was annoyed, she continued. 2 hosts with 1 set of male leads? Messy. But then the system told me something interesting. She tapped a finger to her chin, pretending to think. It said the male leads in this world come pre-programmed with a heroine halo bias, she said. They're drawn to the designated female lead. Guess who that is? You, I whispered. Me. She smiled. All I had to do was play my role. Cry at the right moments. Look fragile. Drop the right hints. She mimed wiping at imaginary tears. Haley harassed me, Doctor, she said in a perfect trembling voice. Haley hired people to scare me, Henry. Haley is obsessed with stealing my men, Parker. I'm so scared. Her voice changed back to normal. And just like that, they all turned on you, she said. It was almost boring, how easy it was. You were trying so hard to climb, and I just nudged their feet off the ladder. My heart pounded painfully. What do you want? I asked hoarsely. She tilted her head. Want? Honestly, I came to see your face when I told you this, she admitted. I thought you'd scream. Maybe throw something. But this. She looked me over slowly. This is better. You're already emptied out. There's nothing left to break. She stood and smoothed her dress. I only need one thing now, she added casually. I need Parker Sheffield to say he loves me. Out loud. Once he does, my mission is complete. My chest tightened. Parker? I whispered. He already. She laughed. Marriage vows don't count, she said. The system wants a confession. But don't worry. I'll get it. Now that you're safely tucked away in here, there's nothing you can do to interfere. She walked to the door, then glanced back over her shoulder. Enjoy the rest of your stay, Haley, she said sweetly. They'll keep you here for years, you know. You'll watch seasons change through a tiny window. You'll wonder if you imagined everything. And when you finally forget why you were fighting, I'll be at some seaside villa celebrating my second chance at life. The door closed with a soft click. I stared at the spot where she'd been. For a long time, there was nothing. Then, very quietly, something cracked inside me. Days passed. Or maybe weeks. It was hard to tell. They tried to get me to paint, to journal, to join group therapy. I sat silently in my chair and watched dust dance in the sunlight. At night, I lay awake and listened to the sounds of the ward. Someone crying down the hall. A nurse humming under her breath. The faint buzz of fluorescent lights. "System," I whispered once, when everyone else was asleep. "End it. Please. I don't care how. Just stop." Silence. Then, "I cannot override a host's world line," it said. "I am only a mission facilitator." "Then what's the point of you?" I asked, tears leaking from the corners of my eyes. "You gave me a task I couldn't complete and called it my fault. You watched me break." "For what?" "For outcome observation," it replied. I laughed weakly. "Of course," I said. "I'm data." The next night, everything changed. The nurses on duty seemed more tired than usual. Someone had brought cake. They were eating it at the desk, talking in low voices. My door opened without a sound. A figure slipped inside, closing it behind him. "Haley," a soft voice whispered. "Hey." I blinked. A young man in a dark hoodie and jeans stood by the bed, breathless, his hair damp like he'd run through the rain. Under the dim light, his features were familiar and strange at the same time. "Jason?" I croaked. Jason Reed. In this world, he'd been my college classmate. The quiet one who always sat in the back row. The one who switched seats whenever I ended up near him. The one I tried and failed to approach when the system flagged him as a target. He gave me a crooked, shaky smile. "Yeah," he said. "It's me. Can you sit up?" My limbs felt heavy, but somehow, with his help, I did. He slipped a loose sweatshirt over my hospital gown and guided my arms into the sleeves. "What are you doing here?" I whispered. "You're not supposed to." "I know," he said softly. "That's kind of the point." He loosened the soft restraint around my wrist with practiced fingers. I stared. "How did you?" "I've been doing some maintenance work around here," he murmured. "Turns out if you volunteer enough and keep your head down, people stop questioning why you have access to certain doors." He offered me his hand. "Come on," he said. "Let's get you out of this place for a while." I hesitated. "If they catch you," I said, "they'll..." "Shh." His gaze gentled. "Let me be the reckless one for once, okay?" He led me into the hallway. The nurses at the station were slumped over, breathing evenly. Asleep. "You," I stared. "Jason, what did you do?" "Nothing that won't wear off in a few hours," he said. "Relax. I'm not a villain. It's just a mild sedative. I'm not the only one in this world who hates how they run this place." Before I could argue, we were through the staff door, down a stairwell, and out into the night. Cold air hit my face. Real air. Not the filtered, conditioned stuff from the vents. I sucked in a breath so deep it hurt. "You okay?" Jason asked quietly. I nodded, clutching the sweatshirt tighter around myself. It smelled like rain and something warm underneath. Where are we going?" I asked. He studied my face carefully, then smiled a little. "Wherever you want," he said. "You pick. I'm just the getaway driver." It had been so long since anyone had said those words to me that I didn't know how to answer. After a moment, I whispered the first thing that came to mind. "Downtown," I said. "The amusement center. By the river. I used to imagine going there with friends. In another life." He nodded. "Downtown it is." We took the subway. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, the car half empty. I sat by the window, fingers pressed to the cool glass, watching the city slide past. Jason sat across from me, his eyes never leaving my face. "You've lost weight," he said quietly. "A lot." "I've lost more than that," I replied. He flinched, like the words physically struck him. "I know," he said hoarsely. "I'm sorry, Haley. I should have stepped in sooner. I should have." "You didn't owe me anything," I cut in. "None of you did." He looked at me like I'd said something unthinkable. Maybe they didn't know, he said slowly. But I did. The subway rattled on. We spent the night like we were in someone else's borrowed dream. We wandered through the mall. He bought me a pair of ridiculous fuzzy socks shaped like cartoon cats. I put them on over my hospital slippers and almost smiled. We played old arcade games until my arms ached and he finally admitted defeat at racing. We tried a VR escape room where we failed every puzzle in record time, laughing breathlessly as the countdown hit 0. On the Ferris wheel, we sat side by side as the city unfolded beneath us in a carpet of lights. The glass reflected our faces back at us, two tired strangers who felt like something more. You were always watching, I murmured, looking at his reflection instead of his actual face. In class. On campus. I thought you hated me. Jason's hands tightened on the safety bar. I know you did, he said softly. I'm sorry. Why? I asked. Why avoid me if you cared? He took a breath. When the system dropped me into that world, he said, it told me I had one mission, win your heart. If I did, I'd get to go back. Pretty simple. I stared at him. You have a system too, I whispered. He nodded. Yeah, he said. Same one as yours, I think. Only difference was the reward. He looked out at the city lights. It also told me something else, he continued. It said your mission was to make one of 4 male leads fall for you. Caleb, Samuel, Parker. Or me. If any of us confessed, your mission would count as complete. I felt suddenly, painfully awake. If I completed my mission with you, I said slowly, I'd go back. And the others would never see what really happened. I'd leave still branded as the villain. As the crazy one. Exactly. His jaw clenched. I wanted you to live. I did. But not like that. Not with your name dragged through the dirt. Not with everyone still convinced you were a monster. So you stayed away, I said. He nodded once. I kept my distance so you wouldn't choose my route just because I was the only one left, he said quietly. I tried to intervene in other ways instead. Anonymous messages. Evidence. Pushing from behind the scenes. Not enough, clearly. I remembered the unknown number that had texted me, years ago. Report it. Don't let them bury this. You're not crazy. I remembered the blurred photos I'd once found in my inbox of men following Jessica around a parking lot. Of an envelope changing hands. Of my own terrified face in a dark alley. You sent those, I whispered. Yeah. Why didn't you say it was you? He smiled weakly. Would you have believed me? He asked. Back then, with everyone telling you I couldn't stand you? With the system whispering in your ear that you needed to chase someone else? He had a point. We rode the rest of the way down in silence. By dawn, my body felt like it was made of wet sand. Every step was heavier than the last. We ended up in a quiet park near the river, the same park where I'd nearly done something irreversible just days before. The air smelled like damp earth and cut grass. Jason helped me sit on a bench. Rest, he said. You look like you're about to fall over. I'm fine, I lied. I wasn't. The world blurred at the edges. My heart thudded strangely in my chest, like it was trying to punch its way out. Haley? Jason's voice sounded far away. Hey. Look at me. I tried. My body didn't respond. The bench tilted. No, my vision tilted. The last thing I felt was Jason's arms catching me as my knees gave out. Haley, he shouted, his voice cracking. Haley, stay with me. His tears hit my face, warm against my cooling skin. Everything else went dark. Host, the system said calmly, as if commenting on the weather. Your physical body can no longer sustain consciousness. Standard mission failure protocol would apply at this time. Of course. Even my body had given up. But, it added, a special condition has been triggered. I blinked. Or thought I did? When my vision cleared, I was hovering above the park, looking down. Jason knelt on the grass, holding my limp body in his arms, his hands shaking uncontrollably. He fumbled for his phone with bloody knuckles and called someone. Caleb, he choked when the other man answered. It's Jason. It's Haley. She collapsed. She's not waking up. I don't think she's breathing. He pressed his forehead to mine. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. I should have done more. I should have. Due to a high-intensity affection surge from one designated male lead, the system said clinically, your mission endpoint has been temporarily postponed. Observation mode enabled. You may now witness the consequences of your world line. In plain language, I said slowly, you're letting me watch what happens after I die. Yes. Why? Because he asked, it said. Jason. Of course. They laid my body out in my old bedroom at home. The doctors called it cardiac arrest brought on by severe malnutrition and stress. No one used the word I'd been afraid of, no one said I had done it to myself. Maybe because I hadn't. This time, my body had simply reached its limit. Caleb sat beside the bed, holding my cold hand in both of his. He'd always been so much bigger than me. Now he looked small. Hey, brat, he said hoarsely. Remember when you were little and kept stealing my snacks? I used to yell at you for it. Thought you were just annoying. Should have realized you were just hungry. He laughed once, a broken sound. I was supposed to protect you, he whispered. Instead I drove you to the river and told you to go where no one would be blamed. What kind of brother says that? You, I thought. The version of you who loved Jessica more than his own sister. But I didn't know, he choked. I swear, Haley, I didn't know she. He cut himself off, bowing his head. Jason stood in the corner, arms crossed, eyes red. He'd been the one to call everyone? He'd also been busy in ways none of them realized yet. Samuel arrived next. He froze in the doorway. The always composed, always rational Dr. Bradford stumbled to my bedside and dropped to his knees. Haley, he whispered, grabbing my hand. Open your eyes. Come on. Enough. Get up. Tell me this is one of your stunts. Nothing. He pressed my hand to his forehead. You came to me asking for help, he said, voice shaking. And I told you you were lying. I signed the papers that sent you away. I believed her tears over your words. What kind of doctor does that? Jason's jaw tightened. Parker came last. He hovered at the threshold like he was looking at something unclean. This isn't funny, he said, forcing a laugh that died quickly. Haley, get up. You've already ruined my wedding once. Don't drag this out. He reached toward my face with 2 fingers, like he was going to flick my forehead. The moment his skin touched mine and felt how cold I was, he flinched violently and stumbled back. His face went gray. She's. He swallowed. She's actually. Jason punched him. Hard. Parker crashed into the dresser, knocking over a row of picture frames. What the hell is wrong with you? Jason shouted. You think this is a game? She's dead, Parker. She starved herself sick while you were walking around in a custom tuxedo. This isn't my fault, Parker snapped back, clutching his jaw. She's the one who always. Jason raised his phone. I wasn't going to do this here, he said tightly, but maybe it's the only way to shut you up. He tapped the screen. A video filled the air. He brought a small projector. The image flickered onto the blank wall above my bed. In it, Jessica stood in a dim parking garage, talking to a man with a shaved head. She handed him an envelope thick with cash. Make it look random, she was saying. Scare her enough that she'll stop interfering. No permanent damage. I still need her functional. The scene cut. The next clip was grainier, but clear enough. Me. In an alley. Cornered by a group of men. Their movements aggressive, the atmosphere threatening. I tried to fight my way out, but they were stronger, faster. The audio picked up my panicked breathing, my choked pleas for them to stop. Jason had cut the video before it showed anything too explicit. It didn't need to. You could hear enough. You could see enough. Back then, I'd gone to them afterward, shaking, bruises already forming. I told them Jessica had arranged it. Parker had accused me of inventing things for attention. Samuel had given me a look of exhausted disgust and told me to stop dramatizing normal conflict. Caleb had slapped me. All of them had told me to apologize to Jessica for slandering her. Now, the room was very, very quiet. Parker stared, eyes wide, lips trembling. That could be anyone, he managed weakly. You can't even see her face in the alley. Jason tapped again. The image zoomed, stabilizing. Jessica's figure appeared at the end of the alley, backlit by a street lamp, watching for a heartbeat before turning away. Zoom filters, he said coldly. Metadata. I can send you the full files if you want. Along with the bank transfers from her account to that man's. And the messages she sent him afterward, bragging about how easy it was to make you all hate Haley. His gaze swept the room. You wanted to believe she was perfect, he said. So you did. Every time Haley opened her mouth, you shut her up. Every time she tried to tell you what was happening, you told her she was crazy. Congratulations. Look what that faith bought you. No one answered. Because there was nothing they could say. Later, there were more revelations. Jason had compiled everything. Voice recordings of Jessica talking to friends about managing me. Screenshots of conversations where she told people I was unstable, violent, obsessed. Security footage from the psychiatric ward showing her leaning over my bed, fingers digging into my jaw while she smiled. He sent all of it to the police. To the hospital board. To anyone with authority. The fallout started before my funeral. Jessica was arrested quietly, out of sight of most of the guests. Charges were being discussed. Conspiracy to harm. Obstruction. Fraud. She screamed as they led her away. Parker, she sobbed. Sam. Caleb. Tell them I was just trying to help. Tell them Haley was dangerous. No one moved. The day of my funeral was warm and bright. The sky was impossibly blue, dotted with soft white clouds like cotton. They buried my ashes on a small hill under a tree I'd liked as a child. Caleb carried the urn, his arms shaking so badly he nearly dropped it. Hey, Squirt, he whispered. I brought you your favorite snacks. I don't know if you can still taste anything. But they're here. He set bags of chips and candy by my photo. Samuel came next. He laid down a sketchbook and a set of pencils. I should have kept listening, he said quietly. The moment I decided you were lying, I stopped being your doctor. I'm sorry, Haley. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to hear it, wherever you are. Parker hovered at the edge of the group. He looked 10 years older than he had on his wedding day. He left nothing on the grave. He just stood there, hands at his sides, staring at my name. You saved my life, he said finally. His voice shook. Literally. I didn't know it then. I just thought, I don't know what I thought. That the donor was some miracle match. That I somehow deserved it. He swallowed. How stupid is that? He whispered. A man who thinks he deserves someone else's organ, but can't be bothered to listen when she says she's hurting. He pressed the heels of his hands to his eyes. I'm sorry, he said. I know it doesn't help. I know it doesn't change anything. But I am. Jason stayed back, leaning against a tree, arms folded. He wasn't crying. He looked like he'd burned through all his tears already. Host, the system said quietly. At this time, you have reached 100% family bond with Caleb Wright and 100% romantic affection with Samuel Bradford, Parker Sheffield, and Jason Reed. I blinked. What? I said. No, that's not right. They only realized anything when I was all ready. Affection parameters do not require temporal alignment with physical survival, the system replied. Their hearts have moved. Their perceptions have changed. Their regret is genuine. According to mission protocols, that is sufficient. I looked at them. Caleb on his knees by my grave. Samuel clutching the sketchbook like a lifeline. Parker staring at my photo as if willing it to move. Jason, silent and steady, the only one who had tried to help before the end. I don't want their love, I whispered. Not like this. not dragged out of them by guilt. Completion conditions have been met, the system said. Primary reward, the original you may now return to your initial world line. An additional soul has qualified for transfer. Secondary candidate Jason Reed. I stared at Jason's profile. He was the only one who moved with purpose in the days that followed. He met with lawyers. He testified. He used every piece of evidence he'd gathered to rebuild my story from the ground up. They cleared my name in the simplest way they knew how. By ruining Jessica's. The truth spread. Online, people stopped calling me that crazy girl who ruined a wedding and started calling me the woman no one believed. There was outrage. There were think pieces. There were strangers leaving flowers at my grave. None of it brought me back. But it was something. Mission complete, the system said at last. Preparing for transfer. At least let me say goodbye, I whispered. I flew, if you could call it that, back to the hospital where my mother was still staying. She'd had a collapse when she first heard about me. Her heart was weak. Her spirit, weaker. Now she lay in bed, thinner than I remembered, staring at a framed photo of me on her bedside table. A nurse urged her to eat. She pushed the tray away. I need to go home, she murmured. My daughter doesn't like being alone. She must be waiting. The nurse glanced away, eyes damp. Mrs. Wright, she said gently, your daughter. She's fine, my mother insisted. Haley's strong. She's always been strong. She just needs someone to believe her. I have to. Her voice broke. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I stood by her bed and reached out, my fingers hovering just above her hand. I'm okay now, I said softly. Or, I will be. I'm sorry I couldn't stay this time, Mom. Please live. Eat something. Laugh at something stupid on TV. Let yourself be happy. For me. Her eyes lifted suddenly. For a heartbeat, it felt like she was looking right at me. Haley, she whispered, gaze unfocused, if you can hear me. Take care of yourself, okay? Even if I can't see you, I know you're there. I smiled through my own tears. I will, I said. I promise. The world around me blurred. Light flared. Transfer commencing, the system said. Goodbye, host. I woke up to the rhythmic beep of a heart monitor. Antiseptic burned my nose. Every part of my body hurt. I tried to move and realized something heavy was draped over my leg. I cracked my eyes open. A white hospital ceiling. An IV drip. A curtain half drawn. Easy, a nurse said quickly, noticing my movement. Don't sit up too fast, sweetheart. You've been out for a while. My throat was dry as dust. Where? I rasped. St. Augustine General Hospital, she said. You were in a car accident near campus. Drunk driver blew a light. You and another girl were hit while crossing. Images flashed behind my eyes. The crosswalk. The screech of brakes. Jessica's wild eyes behind the wheel. The other girl? I whispered. The nurse's face softened. I'm sorry, she said. She didn't make it. Jessica Landry. Of course. In the other car, the nurse added, glancing at her chart, there was a young man. Jason Cole. He took most of the impact head-on. He's the reason you're still here, honestly. If his car hadn't cut across at just the right moment. Her voice faded as the curtain rustled. Speaking of, she said, smiling suddenly. Your hero's been waiting for you to wake up. The curtain slid aside. A young man limped in on crutches, one leg in a brace, his face bruised and pale. But his eyes? Warm brown, tired and familiar. He stopped at the end of my bed, staring like he wasn't sure I was real. Hey, he said softly. You're back. My breath caught. Jason, I whispered. His mouth twitched into a shaky smile. Technically, in this world, it's Jason Cole, he said. But I'll answer to Reed too. Or idiot who drove his car into oncoming traffic to shove you out of the way. Tears flooded my eyes before I could stop them. He clumsily set his crutches aside and perched on the edge of the bed, careful not to jostle any wires. I was gonna make a joke, he admitted, voice rough. Something about how you always pick the most dramatic exits. But when I saw you open your eyes, I forgot all of it. You remember? I asked. The mission. The system. Everything? He nodded. Yeah, he said. I got the full replay package. Lucky me. He took my hand gently. When we got hit, he said, the system told me if I could win your heart in that other world, I'd get to live. Then it told me your mission. Same 4 leads. Same timer. He looked down, thumb brushing over my knuckles. It also said that no matter who succeeded first, he continued, the success would be credited to you. Because you had more routes. Because. He huffed a humorless laugh. Because it liked watching you suffer, I guess. That's twisted, I muttered. Yeah. His grip tightened. That's why I stayed away in that world. Why I kept pushing you toward the others. Caleb, Samuel, Parker. I wanted them to see you. Really see you. I wanted them to confront what they'd become. And if I'd chosen you? I asked. I'd have been happy, he admitted. On a selfish level. I wanted you. In every world. But you would have left with your name still dirty. With your story twisted. I couldn't stand that. He swallowed. So I tried to protect you from the sidelines, he said. It obviously wasn't enough. But when you collapsed in the park, I begged the system to at least let you see what happened after. To let you know the truth didn't die with you. He smiled faintly. It listened, he said. For once. We sat there for a long time, the monitors beeping steadily around us. Outside, someone laughed in the hallway. A trolley rattled past. Jason, I said quietly, in every world. You were the one who tried to save me. Even when it cost you. Even when I didn't know to ask. He shrugged, eyes suddenly damp. Seemed like the obvious choice, he said. You were the only one who ever looked at me like I was a real person instead of background scenery. I thought of the mission world. Of all the times he'd left a cafe the second I walked in. Of the files he'd collected. Of him holding my body in the park like it was the first and last time. In that world, I said, voice trembling, I kept thinking, if I'd met Jason first, maybe everything would have been different. He huffed a soft laugh. In this world, you did, he said. We just didn't know it yet. Something in my chest finally loosened. I squeezed his hand. I love you, I said simply. Not because of points or missions or some AI's conditions. Not because you saved me. Because even when everyone else chose the heroine, you still chose me. His eyes widened. The heart monitor spiked briefly. Say it again, he whispered, like he wasn't sure he'd heard right. I love you, I repeated. Jason Cole. Jason Reed. Whatever name they stick on you. In every world the system throws us into, you're the one I'd pick. He made a sound halfway between a laugh and a sob and leaned forward, pressing his forehead to mine. I love you too, he murmured. In the original world, in the mission world, in any other messed up simulation they try to run. They can reset everything 1,000 times and I'll still find you. I believed him. For the first time in what felt like centuries, I let myself believe in something. The system's voice returned, fainter now, like it was speaking from the bottom of a well. Final notice, it said. Host has fulfilled mission requirements. Companion unit has achieved success via dependent route. Both souls have been restored to original world line. Observation concluded. Are you gone? I asked it silently. No answer. Just the steady, grounding beep of the monitor and the warmth of Jason's hand in mine. Outside the hospital window, the sky was a bright, endless blue. The same color it had been on the day they buried my ashes in another world. Only this time, I wasn't watching from above. I was here. Breathing. Hurting. Healing. Alive. Maybe there would be other missions someday. Other worlds. Other roles I was supposed to play. But as Jason shifted closer, careful of his injuries, and tucked my hand against his chest like he never intended to let go, I knew one thing with absolute clarity. I wasn't an extra anymore. I wasn't a side character in someone else's story. And whatever came next, whatever glitches, whatever systems, whatever worlds, we faced them the same way we'd survived the last one. Side by side.